Okay, here we go. Welcome back. This is AP Psychology Unit 3, Lecture 8, or On-Level Psychology Unit 1, Lecture 3. We're talking about stress. We're talking about defining stress, etc. The date on this, just relative terms, August 24th of 2020. And we're going to talk about stress as we get ready for this new school year here in the summer of 2020. If you're watching it soon on, we'll probably have some mentions of COVID, etc. So we're going to talk about stress. We're going to talk about perception and what perception has to do with stress. We'll also talk about the general adaptation syndrome, which is the process that the body goes through with stress. And we'll also look at causes of stress as well. So when we talk about things that stress you out, when you think about what causes you stress, a lot of you guys would say schoolwork would cause you stress, your job. If you have a job, that could be stressful, your parents, your family, your friends. All these things that cause you stress are sort of outside sources. But what you'll also notice is that for some of you guys, I'll say school could be stressful. Others of you go, I don't think school's stressful. So we're going to notice that perception has a lot to do with it. But when it comes on the impact of your life, a lot of times stress, it has a huge impact because you're trying to control what is sometimes uncontrollable. And you're right now dealing with, here in the summer of 2020, when we're dealing with COVID. And as a matter of fact, this morning when I'm doing this, there's also a couple of hurricanes in the Gulf. Can't do anything about it. I can't do anything about COVID. I can't do anything about the hurricanes. And they're not really causing me that much stress because they're going to happen. You know, if I get sick, I get sick. I can take the precaution and wear the mask. But, you know, you can't spend all your life thinking about it. And the only way you get rid of stress is just death. You know, and that's not an option. That's the only way, because everything we do is stressful, folks. Right now, my hand sitting on this desk, it's pressure against my skin. That pressure I could be looking at is stressful. Weight of the ring, stressful. So stress is a process. It's not a thing. And that's where we get confused. We can't look at that thing is stressful. No, it's not that thing that's stressful. It's your attitude about that thing. For example, if I put a snake down, you know, you could look at, oh my God, it's a snake, it's going to kill me. And it causes you stress. But somebody else could go, look at the snake, and they want to pick it up, they want to pet it, they want to hold it. It's not stressful to them. So the snake is not what's stressful. It's your perception of the snake. It's your reaction to the snake. It's your body's defense systems freaking out about the snake. So a lot of times when it comes to stress, we're going to talk about the cognitive model. And anytime you see the word cognitive, and you'll see it a lot, it's how we think. Cognitive is how the brain thinks and how it understands it. So when it comes to stress, how we think about the situation is going to determine whether or not it causes us stress. There's a lot of things that my wife stresses out about that it's not a big deal, honey. It's not worth getting upset about. And at the same time, there's things I'll stress out about that she's just like, no, not a big deal. So we kind of yin and yang there and balance each other out as a result of that. So again, the cognitive appraisal of stress is our perception. And our perception is the greatest factor that either causes us to stress or alleviates the stress. And again, one person sees something, he sees this snake and thinks, oh my God, it's stressful. And someone else sees it and goes, nah. Because when you take a look at the Chinese lettering for crises, one of them is a symbol for danger and the other is the symbol for opportunity. And sometimes opportunity is stressful. Taking that new class, it might be a little bit too hard. Those of you taking an AP or DC class for the first time, there's some stress behind that. But the reward is greater. Asking somebody out on a date, stressful, but the reward is greater. So there are stresses, but a lot of times it's opportunity. And it's also opportunity, can I handle this? Most people attribute negative emotions to negative events. Cognitive therapists, and again, cognitive, we're talking about the way we think, is we have to look at things a certain way. And when we look at things as stressful, they're more likely to be stressful. You lose a job and you go, oh my God, I lost a job and I'm never going to work again because I just can't handle it, I can't work. If that's your attitude, of course it's going to be stressful. But the other side, if you lose a job and I ask you, well, what did you not like about that job? I didn't like the boss. I didn't like the people I worked with. I really didn't like serving people. You were a waiter or a waitress. I didn't like dealing with people. Well, great. Now here's the opportunity for you to find a job that you do like. So again, stress, no. Opportunity, yes. So our appraisal of the situation has a lot to do with this. Story, I probably told this in class if you're reviewing. Had a girl come up to me and she said, I think my boyfriend wants to go to a concert. I'm afraid if he goes to a concert, he's going to cheat on me. And I'm stressing about it. And I'm like, well, so what if he cheats on you? She's like, what? That would be terrible. I go, really? Would it be? Because if he did cheat on her, then she discovers that the guy's a dog and there's no reason to spend any more time on him. And if he doesn't, you get great information. So again, it's not something to stress about, it's opportunity. You're going to get information from this person. There's what we can control and what we can't. And if we stress about what we can't control, it's a waste of time. We can't control the reactions of others. We can't control the attitudes of others. You know, when someone goes, hey, in this election, I'm going to vote for whoever, and you sit there and you go, let me change your mind, or you just let it go. All right, you know what? That's who you're going to vote for, and I'll vote for somebody else. We'll cancel each other out, whatever. You can't control the world. And once you get into that process, somebody cuts you off in traffic, you know that's them. They've got to be them for the rest of their lives. Or are you the person that decides, I'm going to follow him to his neighborhood, and you're going to want to get involved? That's stressful. So again, how we think is stress. And again, when you see this more, you know, here's some more information on CBT therapy, where you actually go to a therapist and they'll talk to you about changing the way you think. So when we talk about negative stress, this is stress caused by events that, again, outside of our control. It can lead to panic, can lead to anxiety, but it's all on perception. A job interview, asking somebody out on a date, demands at work, demands at school. You know, what I could suddenly give you guys a project. Stressful because you can't control it. You know, you can't control your hours at work. You can't control that hurricane in the Gulf decide is going to hit Louisiana or is it going to hit Texas? And are we going to get two of them? You can't control that. All you can do is prepare for what we're going to come across. Demands from parents, demands from family members, demands from friends. You know, if you don't do this, I'm not going to be your friend anymore. I'm not going to invite you anymore. And then it just becomes stressful. And then you guys with social media, you know, where you have so many friends and so many followers and you're worried about their opinion on every statement that you have to say. Are you getting enough clicks? Am I getting enough likes? Am I getting enough retweets? Somebody without a social media account doesn't have any of that stress. It's gone, disappears. Okay, and a lot of it is based on what we think it is. You know, you take a look at here, they used websites, they looked at people's Facebook statuses. They use negative words Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, a little bit more positive Friday or on Thursday, but a lot more positive on Friday, Saturday, not as much Sunday because I got to go back to work or school or whatever. So that's, again, a lot to do with perception, has a lot to do with perception, but there's also positive stress. Positive stress. If you're somebody you like to go to the gym, you like to work out, you know, you like to run. A lot of people like to run. I don't get it. You leave your house, you come back, you're sweaty, you got to take a shower again. You're right back where you started from. You go out and you lift weights. I pick up the weight, I put it right back. I didn't move. What's the purpose? But I want to get that. I want to use up all that adrenaline that I've had going on throughout the day. I want to use up all that stress that I've had throughout the day. I just want to get rid of this bad stuff out of my body. It can be great. You complete a project, you complete an assignment. That's good stress. And you get the satisfaction of a job well done. You go out on a date, assuming it went well, but you go out on a date and you know, hey, this is new and it's an opportunity and what could this become? Relationships with others, seeing others, going on a roller coaster, which is stressful, but it only lasts for 2 or 3 minutes. You know, we kind of want that. You know, it's not lasting, you know, the roller coaster isn't lasting for weeks at a time. It's quick, it's over, and we feel in control. We feel it's over the top of me, I'm protected, I'm not going to die. You know, so that's looked at as the thrill and the adrenaline rush without truly risking our lives. And again, some people have to take it to the extreme and jump out of a plane. But for most of us, we want that sort of control stressor, which again takes effort. You know, I don't like to go to parties. I don't like to meet new people. I've got enough people that I know. But when I do meet new people, there's some joy that could come out of it. It's just sometimes hard to do. Now, when we deal with stress, our body has a reaction to it, and it goes through a series of reactions. And these reactions are what are known as the general adaptation syndrome, which is how our body adapts to stressful situations. Normally, we have homeostasis, which we'll talk about when we talk about motivation, which is a balance in our life. We have a balance. We don't want to be too high. We don't want to be too low. That's homeostasis. I don't want to be too hungry, but I also don't want to be too full. That's the balance we look for in our lives. But then when we stress, we go through three stages. You know, the first is the alarm stage, which we'll talk about, fight or flight, where I go, is this a stressful situation? I analyze it. Then we go into the resistance stage, where I battle the stressor, whatever it is, in my mind, in my imagination. I cope with it. And then finally, I can only battle it for so long until I hit resistance, which is going to lead to exhaustion. And I'm going to pass out because I can only react to this stress for so long. So let's take these three of the GAS one by one. The first one, again, is the alarm stage. The alarm stage is where something happens, the snake shows up, the assignment is given to us, we get the bad news, whatever, and it's like, you know, and we have to decide fight or flight. Now, fight or flight means fight, do I take on the stressor? Flight, do I ignore the stressor? Flight isn't running away, okay? Because sometimes running away is a fight. You know, dog is attacking me. I decide that this dog is dangerous, so I run away from it. That's a fight. It's not a flight. Flight is where we ignore that it is stressful. And since we're ignoring that it is stressful, we're not going to get our body going and everything, all right? Denial, repression, projection, displacement, because sometimes we can't deal with the stress. You know, if my wife were to tell me this morning before I came to work, that's it, I want a divorce, I never want to see you again, I can't really do anything about that right now. I got to go to work. So I'll just sort of repress that, not deal with it. And then when I get home, we'll have a conversation. Of course, she wouldn't say that. We're very, very happy. But the fight thing is where you decide, I got to take this on. So flight, ignore, repress, don't deal with it. But fighting is, I'm going to take on this stressor. And since you're going to take on this stressor, your body does what man's been doing, and woman has been doing since the beginning of time, which is prepare for a physical need to react. Your heart's going to start beating faster. The blood is going to be diverted to your skeletal muscles because you think you literally have to fight. So all the blood can leave your head, which is why some people faint when they're stressed. So the blood leaves my head, it gets into my muscles because I'm going to have to fight, I'm going to have to run, I'm going to have to do whatever. And then what also happens is I start to take away resources from day-to-day activities. The easiest way I can put this is, let's say your body uses 100 units of energy. I'm making these numbers up. But let's say your body uses 100 units of energy. Let's say that 15 units are for your hair and producing hair. Let's say 20 units are for balancing your skin. Let's say that 10 units are for fixing muscles. Let's say 18 units are for your digestive system, 7 units are for your respiratory system, whatever. There's 100 units in your body that just takes care of your little day-to-day functions. Well, now I'm stressed and I need to divert this blood and I need to get the adrenaline going and everything else. So I got to take resources away from like my reproductive system. You know, if you're a woman, I don't have time to ovulate right now. I got to deal with this stressor, which is also why a lot of women who have miscarriages have them during times of stress because their body is not protecting the unborn the way that it should. You know, people, their hair will fall out, will start to break out, will gain weight when we're stressed because our digestive system isn't breaking down the fats and everything the way that it should. And as a matter of fact, we're so worried about stress, I need to hold on to this fat in case I need to use it later. So a lot of times stress will put on weight. So again, when we're talking about the fight or flight response, it's the appraisal of the situation. Is it stressful? The hypothalamus, which is basically our want center, tells us, you know, do I need to fight this thing? And then my sympathetic nervous system starts to spend all this energy, and I have this response. And this response becomes what is known as the resistance stage. And the resistance stage is us taking all these resources away from our body and fighting this particular thing. All right, blood pressure, respiration rate are very, very high. Hormones are given to add strength, adrenaline, everything else. Epinephrine, which is more of a neurotransmitter, arouse the body in times of stress, gives us extra energy so we can sort of deal with it. Increase blood sugar, suppress the immunity system because I don't have time to digest right now. I need to take this energy and I need to fight and do whatever. Now, here's the trick with this. This resistance, the way that we are built as humans, has been around since the beginning of man. So this was built for us to deal with stressful things like the saber-toothed tiger chasing us. And it's great because if the saber-toothed tiger chases me, I need that energy to run. And then when I'm done, either I'm eaten by the saber-toothed tiger or I've used up all the adrenaline and all the resources and everything else. All right. So this is left over from the past. The problem is when the zebra, who still uses this as well, when the zebra runs away from the lion, the energy is used up. But as humans, we have the exact same physical reaction, but we're sitting in traffic. That car cut me off and all the adrenaline and everything else. I'm stressed. I get the extra assignment from class and suddenly the teacher gives me this. I'm not using it up. I'm not using it up. So all of this just boils and boils. And then the more stress that I get, the more energy that I'm diverting, the more that I'm dealing with these particular things. And I'm just, man, one more person gives me one more thing today. But I'm not using it. It just sits in my body and it stews in my body. And then my body is not breaking down the cholesterol. So my arteries need to get all this blood around. You can get all this adrenaline. My arteries are becoming smaller and smaller and smaller. So there's more pressure on my heart to push the blood through the arteries. And the funny thing is, maybe not funny, is that our body's reaction to stress and how we deal with it is actually more dangerous than what's causing the stress. The assignment your teacher gives you isn't going to kill you, but heart disease will. And then you start to stress, and as a result of stressing, your body's not bringing down the oils as much, so now you start to have pimples, and now you're stressed about your complexion, or your hair starts to fall out, and you're stressed about going bald, and it just adds on top of each other, when sometimes we just have to go, it's not going to kill me. It's not worth stressing about. It's worth dealing with, but is it worth stressing about? Okay, so excessive time spent in resistance is going to basically lead us to bad health. It's going to decrease us to want to take on new tasks because we're already stressed. I don't want to meet new people because my friends are stressing me out enough. I don't need new friends. Stress-related diseases, ulcers, heart conditions, heart disease, #1 killer in America. And then what happens is we stress out, so I don't have time to make dinner, so I'm going to stop at McDonald's and just cholesterol, fatty. And it just becomes even worse, and it's just this cyclical thing that's just going to lead us to death, because we think we have to do everything, and we think we have to do it right now, because that's all in our appraisal, it's all in our perception. And again, the book assignment that your teacher gives you, you may find it as stressful, but the person right next to you doesn't. And they're going to be happier, and they're going to live longer. And we'll talk about this down the road with type A and type B personalities, but stress can absolutely kill you. And you can only resist for so long, until I'm going to run out of these resources, until eventually I'm going to have to go to sleep. I'm going to have to let my body cope. I'm going to have to let it go. And if I don't deal with the stressor, and the stressor beats me, eventually I'm going to hit exhaustion, which is your body's breaking point. Where responses that were good for the immediate time are starting to be detrimental in the long run. You ever gotten to the end of the day and you're thinking to yourself, did I eat today? Did I eat? Because you were so busy, you didn't even eat. So you're not even giving your body resources to deal with the stress. So as we're spending all these resources to combat the stressor, they're being taken away from other bodily functions. Our fingernails are becoming brittle. Again, our face is breaking out. Our fat is being added to the body. All these other things. And this is why we're more likely to get sick. And when we're in this position, again, August of 2020, where COVID's a big thing, the more that we stress about COVID, the more likely we are to be susceptible to it. You know, when you sit there and you stress, oh my God, if I breathe and you're next to me and you're too close and I need 6 feet, which again, take all the precautions. But if someone's 5 feet or 4 feet close to you, you know, if someone's in without wearing their masks, do I get stressed out about that? Do I get involved, or I do just, okay, I'm just going to stay away from that person. It's their life, whatever. And then I don't stress about it. So that's my extra defense, you know, system. And when you're a perfectionist, it's not, you stress all the time. An A is a good grade. A B is a good grade. You get a B, you're getting 4 out of every 5 questions, right? And you guys are battling for class rank and everything else. Oh, I can't have a B, I can't have a B, I can't have a B. Yet the other kid walks in and he gets a C, an AP or dual credit psychology. That's an accomplishment. You know, that's an accomplishment. Some of you guys will take this for a grade, and some of you guys in on level will take it pass fail. Less stress. Less stress. But a lot of the times when kids who take it pass fail still get in the class. So again, when we hit exhaustion and our bodies hit this breaking point, we hit what is called burnout. Okay, where we lose the will to want to resist anymore. I can't take it on, whatever, and we almost collapse. 50% of teachers will quit within the first 5 years of their teaching career. And a lot of times it's because they burn out. They feel like I've got to take everything on. And, you know, some people aren't ready to be taught. I got to deal with that. You know, I had a teacher give me great advice when I first started teaching. She goes, you know what, you can't save every one of them. And that's true. Some people just don't want it. Got things going on the outside, whatever. I can help who I can help. And I'll do everything I can to reach out. But if you don't want it, I'm not going to force it down your throat. That's not my job. So I'm not going to stress about that. And when you get these brand new teachers right out of college that want to be your friend, well, now you've put yourself on the same level. You know, that's going to cause stress. Sometimes you got to leave a relationship. If you've got a friend who is causing you more stress than joy, you may need to change friends. You know, people become accepting of physical and or psychological abuse because they don't have the energy to fight it anymore. Where I'm hearing people right now, you know, why even vote? They're all just dirty and they're all just bad politicians. No, they aren't. But if that's your attitude, that's what they're going to be. You know, you got to try something else. And a lot of times, you know, we don't want to, oh, you know, yeah, I know he's abusive and everything else, but I don't want to start a new relationship. And I don't want to be single. And then we just, you know, why fight it anymore? And we become accepting of this abuse. Students will stop trying in class because they fail. You know, well, why even try? You know, I'm a D student, whatever. Why try to get a C? Why try to get a B? Why not? You know, why not? It's a new class. It's a new semester. I have a student walk in and, dude, Miss Boyd, I just want you to know I'm terrible at tests. You never taken one of mine? Let's see. Don't use your burnout from other things. And again, some tips here on burnout and if you're sort of facing it. And again, burnout is a choice because we're choosing whether or not to stress about particular things and allowing them to burn us out. Now, again, some people are more susceptible to it due to a predisposition for anxiety, depression, and other things. But stress is really something we can control. We can control whether or not we let something get to us, you know. And again, for you guys, it's so hard at your age because not just social media, but also because, you know, what am I going to be for the rest of my life? It's a huge decision. But you don't have to decide that right now. You can make a change at 23, 24. My wife started a brand new career at 40, 41. Brand new career. She was a stay-at-home mom, 41. She starts a brand new career, and now she's killing it. She's just absolutely killing it. She reinvented herself, and now she's looking, how can I reinvent myself after this job? And, you know, start an art studio or whatever else. Life is a series of reset buttons. Life is a series of reset buttons. And if you've ever moved, you know that to be true. You know, each time you move, you get a little bit of a reset button. So again, control is stress. Do I have control over it? The more control I have, the less I'm going to report stress. And then I'm more motivated to solve my problems. When I have a lack of control, that's when it's going to be more stressful. Some of you guys may be coming to school and you don't want to come to school. You don't have control over that situation. Your parents are forcing you so they can go back to work or whatever. Some of you guys are at home and you'd rather be at school. And you're stressed about that. I'm missing out on whatever because your parents said you had to be home. You don't have control of the situation. And so you may be feeling a little bit more stress. than others are. And as a teenager, you want to take control, but there's a lack of control. What's always funny about teenagers is you want control until things go bad. You know, I should be able to do this. I'm grown. I should be able to go to the club. I could drive. I could fight for my country. And then as soon as you get in trouble, I'm just a kid. So it's a tricky time. Stress is more damaging, again, when it's perceived as negative and when it's perceived as uncontrolled. The result is vulnerability, ill health. Poor people are going to experience more stress, you know, because you lose control. I don't know how I'm going to take care of my bills. You know, people right now in a down economy, is the government going to continue to give money or not? How do I pay my rent? How do I afford food? People they're standing in line at bread lines, at shopping malls to get food put into the trunk of their car. They're higher at risk for mental illness. They're also more likely to be overweight because they're not breaking down the fat as much. 2018 study found that 40% of Americans would struggle coming up with funds to cover a $400 emergency. You have a $400 emergency, they would struggle to come up with that. You don't know when the other shoe is going to drop. Am I going to be able to afford these particular things? Do I have a safety net? That is stressful. So it comes to the question that can money buy happiness? And the answer is, to some extent, yeah, it can. That the person who makes 10,000 versus 50,000 a year, the more money you make, you start to become happier. But notice that after we get to 50,000, the person who's making 5 million a year isn't that much happier than the person making 50,000, because it becomes what is known as diminishing returns, the gains that you get as you get more money. Because what we tend to do, because we're idiots, is you make more money and you get a raise. So what do? You buy a new car and you buy a bigger house. Well, now you got bigger bills. You know, instead of just paying your bills and being satisfied with the house you were in that made you happy a while ago, or the car that made you happy a week ago, you know, you need a new car. You know, I just paid off my $15,000 car and I need a $35,000 car. Do you really? Because now you just added bills to the equation. So again, a lot of times money can buy us happiness, but what we tend to do is it's diminishing returns, because then we give ourselves more bills than what we had before. So to an extent, it can make you happier, but then the other problem is this: a lot of times not having money is a great scapegoat. Because you could go, well, if only I had money, if I had the right clothes, if I had the right car, if I had the right this, and I had concert tickets, and the girl would go out with me. And then you get all the money, and you got the concert tickets, you got the clothes and everything else, and you go, wow, I'm still not happy. Huh, must be me. So you don't have that excuse of, if only I won the lottery, if only I did this, if only I did that. And then once you lose that excuse, you start to realize it's a little bit of you. So even as the personal income has increased in America, our level of happiness has kind of stayed the same. It's kind of stayed the same. And again, it's about control. Lassinger and Wright did an experiment where they had 3 different rats. One was what was referred to as the executive rat. And the executive rat would run on the treadmill. And as long as he ran on the treadmill, he wouldn't get shocked. But if he stopped running, he gets shocked. So as long as he keeps running, no shock. This guy over here would run on the treadmill, get shocked. Stop running, get shocked. He would never know when he's going to get shocked. All right, never knew when. It could happen at any time. Regardless of whether he ran or didn't run, the shock could happen whenever. Then this guy, no shock setup. They just wanted to see how often he would run the treadmill. So that's our control over there. So between these 2 guys, the guy who runs, and as long as he runs, he doesn't get shocked. But once he stops running, he gets shocked. Versus this guy over here, no matter what he does, he may or may not get shocked. Which one of these 2 do you think has more stress? Of course, your answer is this guy right here, the subordinate. Because his actions do not control things. This guy, I can control it, and it might be a little bit of stress to control it, but my actions do matter. This guy, not so much, doesn't have a lot of control. As I ask in class, who has a more stressful job, myself or Mr. Kinniger? It's myself. Mr. Kinniger can fire me. Mr. Kinniger can decide that I'm not going to teach Spanish. Mr. Kinniger has control. I don't. You know, who shows up in my class, you know, how many are at home versus, I don't have any control over that. He's got control. And as a result, he has a less stressful job than I do. Now, again, a little bit different in this fall of 2020 situation, because he's got a lot of people above him giving him directives than ever before. So maybe a little bit of a balance there, because he's losing a little bit of control. But in general, I would have more of a control. Or he would have more control. I would have more stress. again, there's some things outside of your control. Catastrophic events, earthquakes, combat stress, extremes in weather, death of somebody, victim of crime. There's nothing we can do about it. But a lot of times we blame ourselves for it. Oh, I should have seen why they were sick. I should have not walked through that neighborhood. When we're just the victim. And when we add it to ourselves and it was our fault, that adds to more stresses. Life changes, marriage, divorce. You know, my marriage, I have an incredibly happy marriage, but there were some bumps in the road early on because we had to adjust to one another and blend the family together and all these other things. A divorce because you've always had this partner to sort of depend on, and suddenly you don't have that anymore. I don't know why I put divorce down twice. Starting a new job, scared of something, promotion, loss of a job, a new pet, all these things can cause a stress. Moving, but again, do you look at it as bad, or do you look at it as opportunity? I mean, most of you guys, if you've ever moved in your life, it was like, oh, I'm never going to see my friends, and you stay on Facebook and you won't leave that group. But if you look at this as a new opportunity, you go, hey, you know what? These people don't know me, and since they don't know me, I could just show the good me, the new and improved me, the me 2.0. And it's an opportunity. So again, do you take a look at it as tragedy, or do you take a look at it as opportunity? And again, rush hour traffic, long lines, overcrowding, harassment, racism. These are daily things that you just sort of have to deal with. But again, as groups get together and decide, you know what, rush hour traffic's bad. We need to change the legislation. We need to get more highways built. Racism is bad. It's systematic. We need to get together. We need to protest. Sometimes these things build up. And then people get together and they want to work on getting them changed together. So again, gradually is going to weaken the body's defense system, can lead to hypertension, heart disease, all these other things. Signs of stress right there that you can take a look at. Who's more happily married, the couple with children or the couple without children? I have 7 kids. There they are right there. I have 7 kids and I got a couple of dogs and a cat now who's not up there. So who do you think's more stressed, with kids, without kids? And of course, the answer is without children. You are less stressed. With children, you have stress. You have unbelievable stress. You know, I have PTSD reactions to the phrase, oh, by the way. Oh, by the way. Oh, by the way, I need this. Oh, by the way, this is due tomorrow. Oh, by the way, I need a ride. Oh, by the way, I destroyed the car. You know, these are all things outside of my control. And as a result, it's very stressful. Now, as the kids, we've had fewer and fewer and fewer in the house, you know, when they do stupid things, I don't witness them. You know, when with the kid's at home and he leaves a mess in the living room, it drives me crazy. He's living in, you know, some of my kids, they're living in their own homes now. And if they make their living room a mess, I don't see it. Out of sight, out of mind. I don't stress about it. So, and my wife and I can get up and go. We can get up and go do things. We're not worried about the kids as much with just one still in the house right now. Pets, you know, dogs. I love them. They're great. They're fantastic. But I get home and I see this little thing here and destroyed all this and just give me a look at what I do. That's stressful. You know, my dog here had a problem with her nipple. I had to take care of and learn how to put a diaper on her, or got into the lipstick or whatever. It's stressful, but it's also rewarding, you know, because nobody loves me as much as my dogs love me. I mean, my wife, it's pretty close, but the unconditional love of these dogs, of my kids, you know, their victories are my victories. You know, when I see them succeed, when I see them get jobs, son of mine just closed on a house, joy, you know, because I had something to do with that. I had something to do with shaping him, and then their successes are my successes, and then their struggles also become my struggles. So yeah, having children is a little bit more stressful, but studies have also shown that couples with children have lower divorce rates because there is that commitment. You have much more of a commitment to it. Last thing with this lecture, the SRRS. This is the Social Readjustment Rating Scale. Back in the 1960s, they did a little study, 1967, as you can see right down here, where they basically put a number to stressful situations. And they said, well, how would you rate these particular things when it comes to stress? You know, from 0 to 100. 100, death of a spouse or partner, down to a traffic ticket, Christmas, vacation. My dad would be much higher on that. Mortgage loan of 10,000, you're talking 1967, so that'd be much, much higher at that particular point. So this is over 10,000, that's under 10,000. So more money would be more stressful than less money. All these things, and they would give different numbers to them. Now, a couple of problems with it, and again, it's all based on perception. Now, a couple of problems with this study. Problem number one, it was just done with white men in the 1960s. All right. So there's no prejudice, there's no racism, there's no discrimination, job discrimination and things like that are not up there because white male is not really facing that in the 60s. Sexual harassment, things like that, not there. But other things, look at where men put pregnancy, 40. Women might put that a little bit higher. You know, my shoes don't fit anymore, my pants don't fit anymore, there's something alive inside of me. It might be a little bit higher. So it's not the most perfect. I don't think we could use these scores some 50 years later, 53 years later, but for the first time, a number is put with things that this is more stressful than that and everything else. But again, perception. For some people, you know, I would, what your perception here, separation 65, divorce 73, I would personally think that separation, shouldn't that be higher because you're not quite sure what's going to happen. Divorce is kind of finalized. That's kind of nice. And those are both more stressful than marriage. And again, it's all about perception. My marriage is not stressful. My marriage would be way down here, not stressful at all. It's fantastic. So there's different sort of, a lot of it is about perception. Okay, so that should wrap us up for AP Psych Unit 3, Lecture 8, and for On-Level Psych Unit 1, Lecture 3.